All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Dunnigan Mott Music Movie Podcast, or as we're going to be known for here on out, the DTM Music Podcast. So, we're going to be switching the names because we have recently added a third co host to the show in a frequent guest, Mr. Gerald Turner. So, from here on out, we're going to kind of be somewhat focusing a little bit more on the music aspect of things, kind of keeping the show more music oriented, which we really didn't do much movie stuff at all other than news and the long famed Jason Goes to Hell commentary that never was. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to bring a third opinion to ours, and I'm very much looking forward to going forward with a three-piece podcast. And so, yeah, today's album was picked by Gerald, and that is going to be Lynyrd Skynyrd God and Guns from 2009. So, before we go any further, I might as well introduce the other hosts of the podcast here. How you doing, Gerald?
Good.
All righty. So, how you doing, Steve?
Freaking great, Brother Z.
So, yeah, let's get into this album with the first track on here, Still Unbroken. So, Pete, take this track.
It's good stuff, man.
All righty. So, Steven, you take this track.
Well, I don't think too much of it, to be honest. I think it's a heap of garbage. And no, I'm playing. I mean, it's not terrible, but it kind of has a heavy metal feel to me, to my ears. But it doesn't really sound like Skynyrd, and I don't know, it just don't sound right to me. So anyway, I don't like it that much. So back to you, though.
Alrighty, so I dig this track quite a bit. I think this is one of the standouts on this album. I kind of honestly mixed on this record, just to kind of give a spoiler. There's some really good songs on here, but I think there's a lot of the songs that are marred by very bad parts, is the only way I can explain it. But I think this is a really good song, co-written with Huey Thomason, the late Huey Thomason of the Outlaws, who was a former member of the band. And I think this is a perfect kind of blend of the classic Skynyrd with the kind of modern sound they had presented on the previous several albums. So I'm really a big fan of this song. I like it quite a bit. So then we'll move to the next track, Simple Life. Pete, take this track.
Pretty good. Some of the songs has a more of a upbeat to it than what normally Skynyrd sound has to it.
All right. So, Steven, you take this track.
Well, I don't know. I don't care for this one that much either. I agree with Gerald, but at the same time, it just didn't really strike me that much. So, I don't know. That's all I got to say. It wasn't that great. So I didn't really take notes on this particular album, so I'm not going to be that detailed. Back to you, Devin.
All righty. So, Simple Life I actually dig. I think it's a good song. Then we move to the next track, Little Thing Called You. So, Pete, take this track.
It's one of the songs that I thought had an upbeat to it. More, how to say it, more rainbows and sunshine sound to it, I believe.
Okay. So, Steve, you take this track.
This one, I thought it was okay. The song itself really wasn't that great to me, but I think some of the parts and stuff, like the musical parts, made it a little better. But the song itself wasn't all that great to begin with. They just kind of enhanced it with the instrumentals and such. So that's probably the first song on this album so far that I even remotely like. So that's a good sign. We're going up from here only. So back to you, Dave.
Alrighty, so I like this song up to the hook, the initial title of the song when they say it. I think that's where the song gets killed for me, at least. And other than that, I mean, the rest of the song is pretty decent. So then we'll move to the next track, Southern Ways. So Pete, take this track.
It sounds like the name is has on it, basically.
Okay. So, Steve, you take this track.
All right. Well, I don't know this one. This is another one of those. It's like dumb. I hate it. Um, I hate it really bad. It's terrible. And that's it. I wouldn't feed this to my cat named Carmen. Even if he wanted it, I wouldn't give it to him. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so this is the first one on the album in which the album dips for me. Not a fan of this one. It's pretty much a remake of Sweet Home Alabama, and it sucks crap. So then we move to the next track, Skynyrd Nation. Pete, take this song.
I don't know.
Okay. So Steve, you take it.
This one to me, again, is crap. I mean, I couldn't get anything out of this. It was completely doo-doo. And I think it needs to be flushed. And so I'll do that now. So back to you, Devin.
So, Skynyrd Nation. I don't mind it. It's definitely not great, but it's definitely not that bad. I think the overall groove is decent. I think the verses are somewhat okay. I just think calling this song Skynyrd Nation is hokey and very, very corny. But, yeah, whatever. So then we move to the next track. Unwrite that song. Pete, take this track.
It was okay, but it wasn't all that great.
Okay, so Steve, you take this track.
Actually, this might be my favorite one on the album. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Unwrite That Song, sucky song. So that brings us to track number 7, Floyd. Pete, take this track.
It's one of the songs in this track that has more of a rock and roll sound to it than a country or a regular rock sound to it.
Okay. Steve?
Well, it's terrible. I will say that. It is completely and totally, utterly doo-doo crap. Lucifer. I don't know where that came from. It just popped in my head. So, as you can tell on this podcast, that's the rules I go by. It pops in my head, I freaking say it. So, anyway, Floyd is terrible. I don't know what the deal is with like the whole. I can't even describe it. You just have to go listen to it. It's terrible. Trust me. Yeah, I mean, if I were you, I wouldn't go listen to it just for your own safety of your ears. But just if you want to hear something really bad and make you have a bad night and not sleep for 3 days. Just listen to it. So back to you, Devin.
All right, so I appreciate the experimental approach, but not a very good song. Not a fan. So then we'll move to the next track. That Ain't My America. Pete, take this track.
I believe this is one of the songs that also had an upbeat to it, and I wasn't very much of a fan of it.
Okay. Steve, you take this track.
That Ain't My America. I think this one is one of the songs on the album, one of about 2 or 3 that are halfway decent in my opinion. And I think the guitar work and the overall sound of the band really made it a lot better. But the songs themselves, I think they focus too much on. They started it, to me it was backwards. I think they started it with the idea of a patriotic song or whatever. And I think that's a good idea, but then I don't think they should start with that. They should write the music first. I think they just tried to write some of the lyrics and stuff and all and try to just fit it to something. And it doesn't have as much melody as it could have. So that's what I think. The song itself isn't really all that great, but I think the musician work and all, and the message kind of makes it a little better. Listenable a little bit. So, back to you, Dev.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so another dip in the album for me. Not a fan of this track. So then we move to the next track, number 9, Coming Back for More. Pete, take this track.
I reckon it's good, but not great.
Okay. Steve, what's your thoughts?
It's bland. It's terrible. It's crap. I don't even really remember it specifically, but I don't remember it sticking out to me. So I'm just gonna say it sucked. Back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so I would like this song so much more if it was David Coverdale singing. So yeah, not a good Skinner song, but a very decent Whitesnake song. So that's all I have to say about this one. Then we move to the next track, the title track, God and Guns. Pete, take this track.
It's more of the newer ones that I actually do like.
Okay. Steve, you take this track.
God and Guns. Well, this one, I guess, being the title track here, I think should have probably been the opener as opposed to Still Unbroken, which sucked. This one was another one that I was referring to earlier as being halfway decent. And, I like the message a lot. And maybe the song isn't the greatest itself as far as the melody or whatever, but really the message and the music really, that's what makes it really good. So, back to you, Devin.
All right, worst song on the album for me, a total crap song. I don't like either version. Hank Jr. covered this song. I don't like that version either. Just a bad song, terrible freaking song. To me, I think they should have went straight bluegrass if they were going to take that approach to this song. Because, I mean, at times you listen to the song and I think there's going to be this high harmony come up, and it never happens. So, yeah, bad song, terrible song. Worst song on this album. I probably would have appreciated it a little bit more if it was straight up bluegrass, but it's not. So, whatever the case may be, I do like the message. I'm like you, Steve. I don't mind the message, but other than that, total crap song. So, then we move to the next track. Track number 11, Storm. Pete, take this track.
Wasn't too sure on what to say about this one, though.
Okay. So, Steve, you take this track.
Stupid song. Terrible. No, honestly, I don't really remember anything about it. I listened to this whole album at one time, and I really, I just don't remember it. So, I mean, to be honest, if it didn't stick out to me then, I just don't really think that it was that good. So, I'm just going to say it was completely terrible, menacing, putrid, and I don't know. My mind went blank on horrible words, but there you go. Makes me want to throw up. So, back to you, Devin.
So, Storm, once again. If it was Whitesnake, I think I would like this a whole lot better. It reminds me of Whitesnake a whole lot. It reminds me of the last episode that we did 2 weeks ago, the Blues album. It reminds me a lot of that. This ain't Coming Back for More. It reminds me a lot of the Blues album. But, once again, it's Lynyrd Skynyrd. And I don't like when they're trying to do something like this. It just sounds forced. It sounds not very well thought out, very undercooked. And I'm just not a huge fan. I'm kind of indifferent on this particular song itself. But yeah, Storm, whatever. And then we move to the next track, the final track on the album, not counting the bonus tracks. I'll talk a little bit about those after this, but Gifted Hands. Pete, you take this track.
It was one of the fair sounding ones as well.
Okay. So, Steve, you take this one.
I actually like this one a lot. Loved it, and I think it's a great song. It's a great little riff. So I like the message a lot, and actually the melody and all, it's pretty good. So I think this is probably uh, the best song on the album. So back to you, Dev.
All right, so second worst song on the album for me, it's a poor attempt to redo Free Bird. So there you go. That's my opinions on Gifted Hands, and this is the final track on the album. I'll talk about the bonus tracks real quick. The first one is Bang Bang. It doesn't really sound like a bonus track, honestly. So there you go. Like some songs do sound like bona fide bonus songs, but this one doesn't. I think you could have threw this on the album at any point and it would have fit right in. Raining in My Heartland, this is another issue I have with this version of Skynyrd. They've got to throw in at least 2 or 3 ballads on every album, and here's another one. Not a fan. Really don't like this song. Hobo Kind of Man, kind of like Floyd. I appreciate the experimental approach, but not a huge fan. And then the rest are bonus live tracks from Freedom Hall. So that's all I have to say on this one. Steven, give your ranking on this album.
Well, I really hadn't thought it through all the way, but I think I'm gonna give it like a good. I think I'm gonna give it a good 4 out of 10. Which usually for me there's no in between. You know, like a 0 out of 10 or a negative 110 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. But for this one, it's gonna be different for me, and you know, I have certain opinions about this Lynyrd Skynyrd stuff here, this era and all that, but I think Devin knows what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to go there. And I'll just say I might have similar opinions of Artemis Pyle. But anyway, go watch Skynyrd on Civil War.
Yeah, definitely.
Great films. Anyway, yep, 4 out of 10, and great music. And halfway good music. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty. So my rating of the album, I'm going to go the same thing, 4 out of 10. I think this album has some good songs throughout, whether I think it sounds like Skynyrd or sounds like something else, whatever the case may be here. But yeah, that's my rating. Pete, what is your rating?
Yeah, I went the opposite way from what I was thinking. I was thinking more like a 3 or a 2 because it didn't sound hardly like the original Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Okay, so yeah, that surprises me actually. I mean, I thought you really dug this album, so that was interesting.
It had 3 or 2 of them I really liked, but the other ones had more of a happy, weird upbeat to it.
Okay. So that brings a closing to this album, and I guess we can go into pick of the week. So, Pete, what artist or album do you recommend people listening to?
Roy Clark.
Roy Clark.
Musical genius.
Okay. So, what about you, Steve? What's a album or artist that you recommend us listening to?
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Okay.
I have been heavily into Stevie Ray Vaughan lately. Great stuff. That's what I recommend. And movie, I don't know if you said that too, but I'm just going to say movie. Halloween 5 for kicks. Okay. So back to you, Devin.
All right. So
Corky's.
my pick of the week this week, I'm going to go with Rat. Listen to any Rat album except the 99 album because it sucks. So there you go. That's my pick of the week. I guess I'll do a movie pick. Jason Goes to Hell for the heck of it. So there you go. That's been our episode this week. The very first episode of the DTM Music Podcast. And I don't know what we'll be back with next week for an episode, but we hope you all enjoyed. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and you can find us on Anchor, YouTube. Eventually, I'm going to get us on Podbean. We're also on Spotify through the Anchor FM app. And yeah, just spread the word out there to people. Tell them, to go listen to us and share our podcasts when we come out with them. We usually come out with an episode every Thursday. We missed the past couple of weeks due to scheduling, but we're back and we're going to keep going with brand new episodes coming soon. So we hope you all enjoy this podcast, and we will see you next week on another episode. God bless you all. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay free, stay frosty. And as I always say, Steven, you take it this week.
See you next time.
Folks.
Yes, sir.
That's all, folks.